Hi, everyone, and welcome to our premiere episode of The Panel Presents Comic Talk. Today, we're going to talk about what we're all doing in Quarantineland, the first comic books that we read, and our top picks for our favorite story arcs. It's all coming up next on Comic Talk. So, joining us today for our show, we have social media guru, the Duchess of Free Comic Book Day, Ashton Greenwood. We have social media guru for Previews World, Troy Jeffrey Allen. And from Comic Book Men and Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash in Red Banks, New Jersey, and from A Shared Universe PodcaStudio, it's Ming Chen.
What's up, everybody?
Yeah.
How's everyone doing?
Good. I took a shower for the first time in 5 days. I'm great.
That's always
Should have kept
important.
that to yourself.
Oh, right. I forgot this is the internet.
Everyone else showering appropriately.
Yeah.
What day
Trying
is
to
it, Mia? What day is it?
I
No.
know it's a
Such
Friday.
an important
That's it.
question. All of the days are the same now.
They really are.
I feel like March went really, really slow, and then all of a sudden it's like, how are we almost all the way through April? Like, this is kind of crazy.
Right.
All right. But before we get into the bulk of the show, I just want to talk a little bit about comic shops. Obviously, with much of the world under stay-at-home orders, there's a lot of shops that are closed that aren't considered essential services. Although I personally think they're essential. But Troy and Ming,
Respect.
you guys have either worked in a comic shop before, both of you guys have. So let's start with you, Troy. What was your shop, and what can you say about the importance of comic shops?
My shop was Alliance Comics and Games. If I remember, I was just watching X-Men, the 2000s movie the other day, and I recalled that I actually came out of the theater and walked down the block to Alliance Comics and Games for the first time, in 2000. And basically they were like, I sat there and chatted up the clerk for a good 30 minutes. And then he was like, "You want a job here?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I was there for 6 years. And I think 5 of those 6 years I was a manager. And I still get my pull there. So yeah, shout out to them. Shout out to Jerry. Shout out to Joaquin. I'm used to seeing them on Sundays to pick up my X-Men. And I'm really sad that I can't get my Hickman X-Men right now, but I guess it's okay as long as nobody else can get it too. As far as comic shops go, they're culture centers, they're community centers, they're church for nerds, kind of, right? I mean, conventions are spread out, month to month, and this is the one place you can go on a regular to kind of get that sense of community, that sense of belonging, that to shed off that outsider mentality and to feel like you belong to something. So I love comic book stores. Every time I go into a new city or state or whatever, I look for one to just try to check it out, see what the culture is like there.
I love that you still go to your first one. That's so sweet. I love it. It's like the dedication and family.
There you go. You
That's
never
really
forget
sweet.
your first.
Yeah. What about you, Ming? Tell us about the comic shop that you work at.
I'm from Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash. You may have seen it on a little TV show called Comic Book Men. It is located in Red Bank, New Jersey, owned by Kevin Smith, King Nerd himself. And I wanted to argue. I wanted to go to the Senate and be like, "Hey, comics are essential, and this is why." And I think I could have argued till I was as blue as Beast or Nightcrawler in the face. Wouldn't have mattered. We tried to convey on the TV show how much pop culture and comics mattered, but I understand. But however, that doesn't mean I don't miss it. I miss going in. I miss joking around with my friends. I even miss getting made fun of. If you watch the show, I get made. I even miss that. But I think it's made a lot of shops kind of have to readjust and do whatever they can to survive. Like they said in the Avengers, whatever it takes. And so right now we're doing mail order. So Mike Babsick, who you might know from the show as well, one of the co-stars, he's going in every day. He is sending out mail orders. If there was a hard to find book that you've been meaning to read, if you need a couple issues to complete an arc, give the store a call. Give your local comic book shop a call. They will mail you your comics for sure. Some of them are doing delivery. Some of them are doing curbside pickup. And they're doing whatever they can, especially right now, to help nerds out for sure. whatever we can do to survive. It's tough that they're not, that everything's closed and we can't go. And I think Troy, like you mentioned, these are centers for us nerds. Even if you're an introvert, we love going to the comic shops to be along with our fellow fans and have that meeting place. It was more than just a place that sold, four-colored superheroes and villains. It's a place to, once a week, maybe every Wednesday when new books came out, it was home. So it sucks that we can't do that right now.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and the internet's not quite the same as going to comic book shops. I know some people argue like, oh, you can talk about comics online. It's not the same thing. It's different when you know the people and you're familiar with the clerk and you're familiar with the manager and like, every nook and cranny of the store, and you can have like just sort of like fun conversations with people versus like, online, they can go south real quick. Yeah.
Yeah, I always feel like I'm going to go into a comic shop and I'm like, I'm just going to go pick up my comics. I'll be in and out in like, 5, 10 minutes. Then I'm like there for like an hour and a half and suddenly we've gone into like a deep dive, hardcore, angry discussion about something.
Yeah. 100%. Like I've learned to like stop saying to people, oh, I'm going to go to a comic shop real quick and I'll be over there. That's no. You need to add like 2 hours to that conversation.
Yeah, I mean, your local shop is your pop culture mecca. It's the place where you always have a friend, and it's also a free therapy session. So
yeah,
right.
It is. I mean, it kind of is because like you go there and like you're like, so all these weird things I've been thinking about, you've been thinking about too. Like what? Why Havoc and Cyclops can't kill each other? This is crazy, So yeah, it is like a therapy session.
It really is. And, I'm sure there's a lot of people who are so anxious for things to return to normal so that they can go to their friendly local comic shop when it opens back up. I'm waiting for it. Like, I'm going to pick up so much stuff when they're open, just to help them recoup from everything. There's going to be a lot of reading to catch up on. And speaking of reading, it's time to find out what all of our guests are doing, what they're reading, podcasting, watching, creating. So it's time for What Are You Doing? And we also want to reach out and ask each of you, what are you guys doing? We want to know what you're reading, watching, podcasting, creating, etc. to pass the time in Quarantineland. And to those watching, let us know in the comments what you are doing by using hashtag What Are You Doing? So let's start with you, Ashton. What are you up to right now?
Okay, so got a couple things going on. First thing is I've finally started watching Katie Keene, and I'm beyond excited about this. So like if you watch Preview Show Weekly or whatever, like I'm a hardcore Riverdale fan, like Archie in general, but like really into Riverdale. And so this is a Riverdale spinoff. It takes Josie out of Riverdale, puts her in New York with Katie Keene, who's also a longtime Archie Comics character. And it's really fun. Chaos ensues. It's really great because there's like just enough references to like tie it to Riverdale. They mention like the weird Josie Archie fling that happened that left everyone kind of dumbfounded. But it really stands well on its own. And Katie Keene is dysfunctional in the same exact way Archie is. So it works really well. I've been loving it. I've pretty much finished it in 2 days. I think I have 2 episodes left. So I've been binging it hardcore. And I've also been reading Dune, which is, I feel like I've been reading it since like February, because I know this is like easily the 5th time I've brought it up, but I'm working through that. And I wanted to bring it up again because they just released all of the first looks yesterday for like Paul Atreides and Chani and like Stilgar and all of that stuff. And it looks so good. I am so excited.
Yeah, that's a huge new movie that's going to be coming out. Zendaya's in it, which I'm really excited about. The costumes look amazing. Same thing with Katie Keene. Like I got into it because she's the fashion designer, and as a cosplayer, I was like, yes, it's like fashion, and so a lot of fun.
Yeah, you recommended this to me when you were on, and we talked about Kool-Aid Man or whatever, and you were like, you need to watch it. It's really good. You're gonna love it. That's right. So you were right. I do love it.
Yay, I
win. He is always right.
Right.
No, not always, but I'll take it.
Right. How often do you get that? You might as well run with it.
Exactly.
Yeah, just own it. Just lean into it. You're like, yeah, I know
Alright.
everything.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Did you see any? The Dune first looks look amazing. Did you
Yeah.
did you see any of the costumes? Like, did you get inspired? Future cosplays, perhaps.
You know what? I love the way the still suits looked. I feel like that would be an incredibly complicated cosplay to pull off, but the still suits looked incredible. So that's inspiring. I don't know that I could execute it properly. Maybe Mia could. She's the master seamstress.
No, you can do it. You can do it.
Yeah, I'm at the point where I think Mia can build anything at this point.
Right.
There you go.
I'll help you out. We can do it.
There you go.
And real quick, Dune the book is not an easy read. It is
No.
long.
No.
It's like 800 pages and it has a glossary in the back. It's like anything
Yeah.
where you're reading it and you gotta like also be looking up words at the same time. Like it's an adventure.
No, we've been talking about this for a while. I know you've been reading Dune for like about a month and a half, maybe.
Yeah,
But
easily.
I can't say anything because I got like about 12 chapters and I was like, I can't do this. So power to you. I'll just go see the movie like an ignoramus.
I like that there's a resurgence of the book though, because
Right?
you're the third person I know that's been reading it right now, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the movie's coming out and everyone's really excited about it. So
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Actually, Comic Book Girl 19, like it was like last year, did a Dune book club. And she did a whole thing where she kind of went, not maybe chapter by chapter, but like actually she might have gone chapter by chapter, and she invited people to join in and whatnot. So I don't know if you're not tapped out at the end, Ashton, maybe check it out and see if she's right or wrong about her hot takes on Dune.
Right. The thing is, I don't feel like I'm gonna get tapped out, and I've noticed like the further and further I get into this, the more I'm starting to go down like this Star Wars-esque hole of like being really committed, really concerned, having a lot of feelings, like, and now I suddenly feel like I'm part of this world. I'm like, well, that can't happen because this and blah, blah, blah. So no, I don't think I'll be tapped out. If anything, I will be annoying.
all right, so Ashton has been enthralled in Dune
Enthralled.
and Katie Keene. What about you, Ming? What have you been up to?
Well, Mia, as you know, I don't like to sit still. Usually we're out traveling at this part of the year, and literally every weekend, and we can't do that right now. And people are like, "Wow, are you going nuts? Are you going crazy?" And I've actually been taking it pretty well. I can sit behind a computer, or I've got a stack of trade paperbacks. So I've been pulling out some of my old favorites, and this is one I have. This is Starman: Sins of the Father. This is not really a relaunch of Starman, but kind of a reintroduction to the Starman character. It's came out 96 or 97. Written by Jerry Robinson, pencils by Tony Harris, and this is the Jack Knight version of Starman. In the past, whenever anyone asks me, "Hey, what comic book haven't they turned into a movie yet?" and my old answer was Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu, doing that with Simu Liu. So, so now this is my new answer. If they made a Jack Knight Starman movie, that would be amazing. I think every fan should read this. The reluctant superhero who wants to do it he wants to do it in a cool way. Doesn't want to wear spandex. Love pink goggles and leather jackets instead. And this is the Starman character goes back years, so this is steeped in history as well, and ties into the DC universe. And this is one I usually read maybe once a year, but since we're kind of locked down, I pulled it out a little early, and reading that. I think there are 5 or 6 volumes of omnibuses out there. If you really want to binge this, and you can order that from your local comic book shop for sure. And over to TV, this might shock a lot of people. I don't love admitting this, but I never watched The Office before.
It's so good.
It is
What?
I'm with you, Ming. I'm with you.
Yeah,
Boy.
I've never really watched
Oh, shame.
I know, but I'm a better late than never guy. I saw it, it came up. I think it's one of the top picks on Netflix right now. And I don't know why I never watched it before. I think when it came out, I wasn't watching a lot of network TV. And then when it hit streaming, I think everyone had kind of drooled all over it. And I'm like, oh man, will this live up to the hype?
Yeah.
Right.
But thank God for this quarantine. I was like, I'll give it a shot. And the people at Dunder Mifflin, they're all screwed up. And they're all screwed up for my amusement. and I love it. Well done to Steve Carell and Jenna and the gang over there, and John Krasinski and all crazy. Oh, and Rainn Wilson. How can I forget him? So
Right.
I am way into that, and it's kind of fun. I know you guys have all seen it, or most of the most of the living, breathing population has seen it. It's kind of nice seeing it with new eyes and talking to people who've already seen it. It was like, oh my god, that was really crazy. So that's what I've been binge watching though.
Yeah.
Nice. What's actually cool is that I think is it Pam, and then I forget what the other lady is, the kind of crazy religious-y one.
Oh yeah, Angela.
On The Office, Angela. So they've actually started a podcast where they're like, you can watch the episode and then they discuss like all the background behind the scenes stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's the two of them talking about it. So that's something new that once you watch the full season, you can go back and watch it with additional commentary.
That is absolutely brilliant. I think every TV actor, even if they haven't had a series or if they're in one now, they should all be doing this.
Yeah, well, we all kind of like that, like behind the scenes stories, that we don't get to hear. So
yeah.
Well, very cool. You're getting some time to catch up on some stuff. I say that like I didn't just watch The Office last year, so.
Okay, but like, who are your favorite characters? Like, really quick. I'm trying not to derail this too much.
No, I mean, I love Michael Scott. He's so. Yeah. There's so many things wrong with him, but him and Dwight, I see both of their messed up personalities in a lot of my friends. Not exactly, but pieces of both of them, and I'm like, okay, now I know why I relate to this so much.
Right.
Characters, and that's kind of bad. That's kind of sad, but it's also kind of funny.
That's funny. All right, what about you, Troy? What are you up to? What are you watching, reading?
Well, I heard somebody told me. Actually, I know this because I was watching last week's stream, which you wanted, that you're watching Community. It just so happens I'm watching Community, Mia. Yeah, my cousins have been telling me you'll love it, and I finally kind of just sat down and started watching it, and I love it. It's it's the Russo brothers, which is actually kind of cool, and it's Dan Harmon. So it's like the guys who gave you all the best Marvel movies, and the guy who gave you Rick and Morty, like making a TV show together. Like it's just hilarious, and it's loaded with all these pop culture references and particularly film references. There's a water gun, a paintball episode, multiple paintball episodes that are just loaded with every action movie cliche imaginable, and it's just fun to just kind of catch all the Easter eggs. As far as comics go, I actually had to do an article for the 20th anniversary of Ultimate Spider-Man on previewsworld.com, and it's actually on the front page right now. So I'm gonna do a little shameless plug because I had the joy of going back and rereading Ultimate Spider-Man by Brian Michael Bendis and Mark Bagley, and of course this is the book that gave us Miles Morales on top of that. But it's just to me it's kind of become quintessential Spider-Man. It was like kind of fun to go back and reread that stuff. Outside of that, I've been thrilling to Deadly Class. I kind of was burning through them left and right, and then I realized that there's not going to be any new comics for a while, so everything was put on hold. So it kind of sucks. So I kind of had to throttle my Deadly Class reading for a little bit. Also, I've been watching a show called Killing Eve, which I've been wanting to watch for a while. Which is actually really, really good. It's about this, I guess she works for like MI6 or whatever, and she's trying to hunt down this assassin. It's really quirky. It's very strange. It's a BBC show. I just kind of was very left field, and it caught my attention pretty immediately because it wasn't like anything else I had read. Outside of that, I'm going to start reading Tom Strong finally because my friends have been telling me to read it for years. And actually started watching Avatar: The Last Airbender finally. So yeah,
that'll keep you occupied for a while.
yeah, it is. Like part of me kind of regrets starting it because I'm like, man, we're knee deep into this. Like I'm into season 2, and I'm like, this isn't going to end, and I got to watch Legend of Korra. So
you're like falling down 18 rabbit holes that I don't know if we can pull you out from.
I know,
dangerous.
I know. Well, this is the problem. Like Ashton was saying, like you got the nerd brain, right? Like you start kind of like wanting to unpack these things, and kind of you go into all these different rabbit holes all at once. And this is kind of one of the reasons I don't watch television because once I start, I just I get hooked in, and like I can't let go.
All right. You guys, this is so awesome. I think we've got some great like recommendations for people based on like shows and comics that people should check out based on what you guys are doing. Let me take a look at some of the comments and see what everyone else is doing. We have Ron going rewatching The Walking Dead. That's a lot of seasons.
That's a lot of seasons.
James A. Douglas, hashtag gaming playing Deadpool.
Okay.
Nice.
What the old school one, huh? Okay.
Chase, working at a grocery store to make money to buy comics. Hashtag, what are you doing? Thank you for working at the grocery store. We
Yes.
appreciate that. We appreciate
Yes.
all of the workers out there putting themselves on the, literally on the front lines to get us our milk and eggs.
You're awesome,
So thank you.
For sure.
Anton says, well, I'm going to read at the General Ursa's series again. That was a great Planet of the Apes series. I might look through some classic Spider-Man because they're always fun to read.
Nice.
Nice. Chase, finally reading Saga. Yes, such a great series. One of my favorites.
Another rabbit hole.
There you go. It's Chase. Chase is one of the regulars for our weekly show, Previews World Weekly. So what's up, Chase?
Hey.
What's up, Chase? Good to see you.
Good to see you, Chase.
See, Brian Spencer says, checking out some old comics I got from my sister-in-law's dad. Nice. I like when you can get those hand-me-down comics and see what everyone's got.
Yeah.
Natasha, hey y'all. He's been making masks and really helping out those efforts.
That's amazing.
Thank you, Natasha. Natasha,
Natasha,
I'm gonna hit you up for some masks.
Right, I might too.
Let's see. RC Cola, binge watching Frasier, another really good show. As a Seattleite, very good show.
Right.
All right.
Everyone's staying sane, it sounds like, which is good.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Trying to keep everyone's time occupied.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
Mhm.
Now let's move on to our next segment, firsts.
You always remember your first.
Intro gets me every time. I can't. I'm like, what am I hosting, you guys?
Oh God! Wow.
What kind of show is this? I thought this was a family program. But...
All right. Oh,
Is it bad that I don't remember? Okay, sorry. All right, we'll continue.
Oh my God, I gotta get through this.
Yeah, Mia, where are we going here?
All right. So anyone who knows comics, we all know that fans really love their first issues and their first appearances. So for first, we talk about some of the momentous firsts that happened in our lives of comics. For this episode, we want to ask you, what was the first comic book that you read? And for those of you joining and watching, let us know in the comments what your first comic was by using a hashtag first. So let's start with Troy. Troy, what was your first comic book that you read?
It's kind of spotty. Like I feel like I got into comics because of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But I also remember reading Archie before that, and at the time Archie was publishing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comics. There was a book called Archie's RC Racers that came out, which was like definitely like in retrospect was like, okay, they were trying to like secure the boy market at the time because it basically is like I'm going to date myself here, but it's like it's kind of a treasure hunt with all the Archie cast, but they're all driving RC racers throughout the country to kind of like meet some sort of goal or whatever. Prior to that, the first thing I remember actually is this, which was a free comic called Spider-Man Storm and Power Man Battle Smokescreen, which was like this free comic that they gave away to my elementary school. And this isn't the original one I had, but I happened to find this at a convention. I was like, well, I'm going to buy this because it's like one of the earliest memories I have of a comic book. And it's basically about the dangers of, I want to say drug abuse. Like I want to say it's like about drug abuse and alcohol abuse, and I think particularly marijuana. So might be a little dated, but yeah, Spider-Man, Storm, and Power Man, maybe Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, maybe Archie RC Racers. Somewhere in there were one of my firsts. So there you go. and in the backseat of a car. There you go.
Oh wow!
But
of my mom's car because I was a kid.
Okay.
Okay.
Two birds, one stone.
Oh my
Nathan.
gosh.
Two birds, one stone. All right, Troy.
All right, trying to keep this PG-13. Let's go to Ming.
My answer is not as sexy as Troy's, but I'm trying to keep up with him. When I was in first grade, one of my classmates gave me a copy of Avengers number 214. And that was my first comic ever. At the young age of 6, like I knew who Batman and Superman, I knew who the characters were, but that was the first comic I picked up with a full storyline and multiple characters. And for anyone who's read it or maybe picked it up, on the front cover is Iron Man being taken down by the Ghost Rider, and in the background is Captain America and Tiger, and they're kind of like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And as a first grader, I was like, what is this? This is crazy. So I read that thing cover to cover. I was enthralled by the storyline, the Hostess Fruit Pie ads in there, the ads for the fart powder and the X-ray specs. There were some ads for some Saturday morning cartoons from the early 80s. I devoured that thing cover to cover, and I never forgot that one. And there was another storyline in there which I didn't get as a kid, which became kind of monumental later on in comic book history. Where Ant-Man actually hits Janet Van Dyne. He strikes her. It was a very monumental, kind of a not really a key moment in comics, but a shocking moment. But as a kid, I didn't know what was going on. My parents didn't hit each other, so I was. But in the issue before, it was kind of a little domestic abuse in there, which you'd never seen in comics before, and kind of changed a lot of things. But that was kind of a key moment in there. But I still have that issue. It's still in a long box somewhere, and I kept that. But that started me down the path of comics, for sure. And also, it's also tough. Anyone asks me, is like, who's your favorite comic book character? I'm like, can I just take all the Avengers? Because that's what I got first. They're like, oh, that's cheating. I'm like, no, it's not. So
No, it's not.
yeah, Avengers 214. It's like a $10 book, but I think I'm like you, Troy. Anytime I see it anywhere, I just buy it.
Yeah, right.
Buy it full time sake.
Awesome. Well, Ming, you went in deep with some great ones there. What about you, Ashton? What was your first comic that you read?
So my answer is going to be similar to Troy's in that it's somewhere in my memory, I have like a memory of the Archie characters and some sort of like Archie comic strip. But in terms of like a first comic that I actually like picked up with intention was The Walking Dead #1, issue #1, because I had watched the show and I had gone into it blindly, and I guess I wasn't aware at the time that it was based off of a comic. And then my brother had found out, and he started reading them online. And I was like, well, wait, I want to do this too. Like, me too. Like, the annoying little sister. Me too. And so then we like sought out the comics and got a handful of like, I want to say like the first 2 or 3 trades by then. So it was a lot to get through, which was, it's kind of exciting when you find something that's already, you like it, and it's got a lot of issues and you can really like dive into it. So it was The Walking Dead.
Nice. Very awesome. That's a good one to start with. And I love that it's different from the show. I love that, Robert Kirkman was like, he tried to fix a lot of things that he felt he rushed in the comics by doing it on the show.
Right. Yeah.
So I love when it's a little bit different,
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Thanks for that, you guys. Really good picks there. Let's go into what we have in the chat here. Josh saying I need a bath after that intro. We all need cold showers.
There you go. It was a little hot.
Brian Spencer, I still have it. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Archie number 16. Nice.
Nice.
First comic was Marvel Team Up with Spider-Man, the Black Panther. There were dinosaurs in it, and I was really into dinosaurs from Anton. That's awesome. Chase, #Batman. That's all you got to say.
#Batman.
Very easy.
RC Cola, first X-Men during Onslaught.
Oh, nice.
Very nice. Ilya, Garfield classic. Read them in the newspapers.
Oh, you know what?
Garfield and Odie.
Yeah.
Love that.
Shout out to him, actually. Yeah, actually, you know what? I could probably say Calvin and Hobbes, actually, if you want to get technical.
Oh, yeah. What was the one with the guy who was like a barbarian?
Hagar the Horrible.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh
there you
my
go.
god.
Yeah. I'm sure I have Revenge of the Baby set somewhere over here behind me. I'm sure. Actually, here it is. There you go.
There
Oh.
it is.
It's
Oh
probably
my god.
probably from the library that I never returned from when I was a kid.
I definitely have a library book too that I stole or whatever.
I think a lot of us have that one that we're like, it never went
Yep.
back.
You guys are outlaws. I don't want to know what the late fees are on those.
Oh, I
Actually.
don't know. Yeah.
I remember actually when when you're a kid, like of course like I didn't really have cash like that, and when I did get money it was for lunch, so I would spend it on comics instead. But yeah, like one of the first books I read that like blew my mind came from the library. It was the Dark Knight Returns, but it was leather bound and it had Batman Year One in it, and I didn't even know comics could be like that. And so actually I'm just want to show off my collection. That's all I want to do. So
Hold on, let me turn around.
I thought I made it up. But I actually did end up finding that book. This is not the library version, but I ended up finding that book over years later because I was like, I have such a very specific memory of being obsessed with Batman at that age. So, yeah.
Troy, you have to find that original copy that still has that little card in the back with your name
Right,
on it.
yeah. and
You're gonna have to find
and the
that.
stamp date. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
It's got the Dewey Decimal System number on there.
Yeah, right.
You need all of that.
Right.
Out there.
All right. Now that we've talked about our first, let's move on to our last segment, top picks. All right. For this round of top picks, we want to ask you, what are your top story arcs? And you can let us know in the comments if you're following us by using hashtag top picks. And let's pick on Ming first.
I can go with the classic X-Men Days of Future Past. It's got revenge, it's got redemption, it's got time travel. I think they did a pretty great job with the movie. It's got Sentinels. If you love the movie, it's got Peter Dinklage. But I'm a sucker for anything with time travel in it and where you can go back and maybe fix the rights of the past and how it affects the future. If it was just regular people doing that, I would be all over it. But since it's the X-Men doing that and our favorite characters, I'm way in on that. And on that note, with the time travel, Old Man Logan as well is it's one of my favorite story arcs, and the subsequent issues and storylines that came out after that, Brian Michael Bendis and the Hulk gang and just a messed up future and everything that goes on there. If you have not read it, definitely pick that up. And then I'm giving up a real quick third one, if I may. Iron Man Demon in a Bottle. Wow, I went all Marvel, but Marvel. Tony Stark, alcoholism, battling with Justin Hammer.
Yeah.
You see a little bit of that in Iron Man 2, the Iron Man 2 movie. And just great covers as well, great artwork. And they've collected that definitely in a trade paperback. Get that at your local comic book shop for sure if you don't have it. But those are definitely three of my favorite storylines for sure.
Nice. Good picks. What about you, Ashton?
Okay, so mine is, of course, Archie. I feel like I'm obligated at this point. But it's actually from first Archie Volume 1 on the reboot. And it takes place in like the first 5 or 6 issues. And so when you jump into this story, Archie and Betty have already been together and they've already broken up, and on set of the story. And so you're going through this first trade trying to figure out like what broke them up. And it's called like #lipstick incident. And so you find out, by the end of it, what the lipstick incident was, and it's incredibly minor. Archie and Betty get in a fight, and he accuses her of trying to change to impress him, and they go back and forth, and she ends up smearing a bunch of lipstick all over his face. And I loved it because anytime you read any sort of YA book, to me, at least in my experience, I feel like it's been hard for authors to pin down how exactly a teenager acts. They either act like fully functional adults or whiny babies, and that's not entirely true on either side. And I thought Mark Waid did a really great job of hitting that middle ground of what it means to be a teenager and what kind of things bother you as a teenager. That lipstick incident's not a big deal in the grand scheme of things, but when you're 16, that kind of stuff matters and it hurts your feelings a lot. And so I felt reading this, I was that I relate. there's so many things in my high school career I can look back on and be like, I got so upset about that and it didn't matter at all. Like it never amounted to a hill of beans. So I loved that, and I loved the way he wrote those four characters. Like so much so to the point that I flagged him down at the Diamond Summit last year just to be like, excuse me, I love the way you wrote these characters. He's like, oh, thanks.
Well, just like that. That's kind of aggressive.
It was a little like I was so excited about it.
She cornered him.
There you go.
All right, what about you, Troy? What is your top story arc?
I must be in a like early 2000s mood because, like, I mentioned the Ultimate Spider-Man thing. I have at my feet the Ultimate Galactus trilogy, which was Warren Ellis and like a string of artists: Brandon Peterson, Trevor Harcine, Steve McNiven, Steve Epting, Tom Rainey, John Romita Jr. It was basically Warren Ellis retelling the story of Galactus that originally appeared in the 60s in the Fantastic Four comic, but utilizing the entire, not just the Ultimate Fantastic Four, but the entire Ultimate Universe. And he just does some really cool, creepy things with it. Like, and it involves, he makes, actually the Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer attempted to lift elements of the story and put it in the film, but did an awful job of it. But the actual comic itself is epic, and it's probably one of the best cinematic, not movie takes on the Marvel universe that you'll ever find. Like a lot of the Ultimate stuff, I think it's just big and grandiose, and like just filled with like cool techno mumbo jumbo, and kind of horrifying too, because the story starts off with people receiving messages that Galactus is coming, and they don't know it is, so they kind of commit suicide ritualistically because it's doing something to people's brains, and that sets the X-Men off on a mission to Russia, and then they have a collision course with the Avengers, and then they introduce Captain Marvel because it's syllables. And yeah, it's just an awesome story. And I went on a bit of a late night Twitter rant on Previous World like about 2 weeks ago, just because I was feeling it so much. So yeah, Ultimate Galactus trilogy is awesome. Also, I'm a big Warren Ellis shell in general. Early 2000s book, another one, The Authority, which is one of those books. When I walked back into that comic shop into Alliance back in 2000, I was really playing catch up because I kind of quit comics after Spider-Man: The Clone Wars. I took that so personally, like I think a lot of people did. And so I walked into the shop, and the people there suggested a bunch of books to me, and one of them was The Authority. And just like my experience with The Dark Knight Returns, I just didn't realize comic books could do this. It was just snarky and mean and badass, and like the villains were super despicable, and there was all this kind of interesting social political commentary going on that was way over my head at the time, but looking back at it in retrospect, I'm like, oh, that's what they were talking about. That's interesting. So yeah, just Warren Ellis just has a way about him, and I'm always a big fan of his work. So yeah, those would be my two: Ultimate Galactus trilogy and The Authority. And also pick up the Mark Miller Authority that came after that, because it's also pretty cool and definitely badass.
Nice. And I love how you had all the examples there just ready to pull out. That was great.
They're literally on the floor, which I'm sure is going to make some collector weep. But yeah, they're right here.
All right,
and I know I'm hosting, but I want to throw out oh god, I had it this whole time because I was like, I'm gonna throw oh god, Flashpoint Batman. I love that story. Yeah. I love the twist of kind of what would happen if it was Bruce that died instead of his parents, and that whole storyline and how the Joker gets started. Like that was my wow, that threw my head for a loop. I was never the biggest Batman comic person. But after that, I was like, wow, okay, now I want to read more.
Yeah, that's a killer. Cool. That's a killer. Was it I think it's like a 2-parter or something like that. But yeah, that's a killer story. Yeah. All
right, and let's see what some of the people in the audience had to say. Wolf has Uncanny X-Force #1 by Rick Remender.
Yes, Lord.
Supreme.
Rick Remender.
Remember.
Yeah. I'm gonna give you the church hands on that one. I'm gonna testify.
Anton, well, there are too many to pick, but Batman Long Halloween. After that, I'd probably say with Spider-Man, it's nothing can stop the Juggernaut. That was a good storyline. Nice. And if it was recent, I would say Spider-Man Dead No More and the Gauntlet, and especially that part of the Lizard called Shed. probably one of the most darkest lizard stories ever written. If you're talking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I would say Return to New York and City at War.
Oh,
Nice.
well
Those
done.
are a lot of good picks.
Well done, Anton.
Yeah. No, that lizard story takes a turn. I will not spoil it, but it does take a turn.
And then Wolf Warner saying Buzzkill by Donny Cates is fantastic.
It's a great pick. One of his books he wrote before he blew up. And Donny Cates is writing pretty much everything right now.
Right.
I met him a few years ago. I did by accident at a comic book shop in Austin. I think he was signing copies of Buzzkill, so I definitely picked that up.
Nice. All right. And it looks like we're coming to the close of our show. Oh, wait. Hold on. We've got some more. We have Ubaldo says Batman Who Laughs, hashtag top pick.
Okay, nice.
Black Hammer by Jeff Lemire is straight drip, another recommendation from Wolf.
Great trip.
Brian, yes, again with the turtles. One of my favorite story arcs is City of War from the original Mirage comics.
Oh, nice.
Heck yeah, The Authority, W. Divine.
Thank you, sir.
Ilya, top pick. When your girlfriend forces you into comics, Unnatural. What a banger. Unnatural's good, especially with is it Beer Stars? Is like this new Netflix anime show that's kind of along that same lines as Unnatural.
I had the same no shade to anybody who likes Unnatural. I had the same reaction to Unnatural that I had to Beer Stars when I was flipping through Netflix because we're at home and you have nothing to do, and I saw that and I was like, oh, this is furry stuff. I'm going the other way. I'm running away. I'm running away.
Enjoying it won't make you a furry. It's okay. Just dip your toe in. It's
won't
okay.
it, Mia? Won't it?
All right, we have like 4 conversations a week about furries. Like we're past that.
That's just because. It's just because it scares me that much. Shout out to all you furries. I'm not no shade.
It's just different, Troy. It's not scary. It's just different.
Yeah,
it's just different.
Exactly.
I'm gonna take a shower.
Another one.
All right. Well, we're coming to the close of our show, but before we end, let's go around and do some plugs. Troy, Ashton, Ming, is there anything that you guys want to plug? And then where can we find you at online? We'll start with Troy.
You can find me at TJ Comics on Twitter, and also I am still manning the Previews World Twitter account, so definitely interact with us. There's kind of course a lull in terms of new stuff that's coming out, but it's given me an opportunity to literally comb through this shelf and just rant about some of my favorite comics. And if they happen to be some of your favorite comics, like The Authority, then you should definitely follow me at TJ Comics and also follow at Previews World because I am just nerding out over there.
All right.
That's a strong IKEA shelf, my friend. And it's it's what you started with, and you've done well.
It's struggling. I know it is.
All right, what about you, Ashton? Is there anything you want to plug, and where can people find you online?
Yeah, I'm always out here plugging Free Comic Book Day. We are still having a Free Comic Book Day this year. It will happen at some point when it is safe and we can all celebrate and nerd out together at your local comic shops. So keep an eye on the Free Comic Book Day website as well as the social media pages for updates, and that is also where you can find me. Unfortunately, the handles are not the same across the board, but Free Comic Book Day on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, you'll find me there.
Sounds like a deal. All right. And what about you, Ming? What are you up to? Where can people find you?
I'm currently running a podcast studio called A Shared Universe. So if you have been watching this, you're like, wow, that looks like a lot of fun. I want to try to do something like this. We can help you out. We've been live streaming since everybody's at home. We've been connecting people online through live streaming. Very, very easy to do, but even more importantly than that, immensely fun. So you can go and to ashareduniverse.com and find out more about remote podcasting, remote live streaming. And then when we're able to open up back again, you can come down to our studio in New Jersey, which isn't that far from the comic book shop. So you can hit both of them in one shot. You can find me online at MingChen37, MINGCHEN 37, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. And I've been pretty active on that. You'll find pictures of me and Mia on there somewhere. Got a few photos up on there for sure.
Ooh.
Like that one.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I don't even know if you remember that Comic Palooza 2015.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
I don't know why I'm picking you up or carrying you.
I don't know. There's another one where I'm like, you're piggybacking me. I don't know why that happens when we see each other.
I'm Kevin Costner. You're Whitney Houston. It's the bodyguard. I'm not really sure, but it was an honor rescuing you from wherever in Houston, Texas.
Well, thank you, Ming. And hopefully we'll get another chance for that when all this dies down.
I hope so. I really do.
But thank you guys for joining me. This was a great show. That about does it for our first episode of Comic Talk. We'll be doing this every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So be sure to hit that subscribe button so that you get notified whenever we go live. Also, tune in on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Previews Game Night, where we get together and play some games where you can join the audience and interact with us. So until next time, guys, remember, not all heroes wear capes, but a ton must wear masks. Thank you to all of our healthcare workers and keeping us safe. Thanks.